First contact and deception. Admiral Elena Santos stood at the observation deck of Lunar Base Alpha, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the outer reaches of the solar system. The massive alien fleet had appeared without warning, their ships resembling crystalline structures that caught and reflected the distant sunlight. Hundreds of vessels, each larger than anything humanity had ever built, or so the hegemony thought. "They're hailing us again," Commander David Chen reported from his station. "Same message as before. They're offering to guide our primitive civilization into the greater galactic community." His voice carried a hint of amusement that matched the slight smile on Admiral Santos's face. The hegemony's arrogance was exactly what Earth's Defense Council had been counting on. For the past 50 years, humanity had maintained a carefully crafted facade of technological inadequacy. Every probe they sent into deep space was deliberately outdated. Every transmission that left Earth's atmosphere was designed to appear centuries behind their actual capabilities. "Let's maintain our performance," Santos said, straightening her uniform. "Patch them through to the primary command center." She walked briskly toward the elaborate stage that Earth had constructed for exactly this purpose, a command center that looked impressive to 20th century eyes, but would appear hopelessly obsolete to any advanced civilization. The holographic image of High Commander Zixtal materialized, his crystalline form towering over the humans. His translucent body pulsed with patterns of light that their xenolinguists had determined indicated patronizing amusement. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," his artificially translated voice boomed. "We trust you have considered our generous offer of protection and guidance." Santos played her role perfectly, allowing a carefully measured amount of awe and uncertainty to color her voice. "High Commander, we are honored by your patience. Our world's nations are still discussing your proposal, but we need more time to reach a consensus." "Time is a luxury you may not have." Zixtal's lights pulsed more intensely. "We have detected several rogue civilizations moving through this sector. Without our protection, your primitive defenses would be useless against their technologies." Behind her mask of diplomatic politeness, Santos felt a surge of satisfaction. The hegemony was playing directly into their hands, following the psychological profile their analysts had constructed perfectly. Like many empire-building species they'd encountered through covert observation, the hegemony believed themselves to be both superior and benevolent. "Perhaps," Santos suggested carefully, "if we could observe a demonstration of your defensive capabilities, it would help convince our more hesitant leaders." The crystalline being's lights sparkled in what their analysts recognized as smug satisfaction. "Of course, we shall demonstrate our power by eliminating a small asteroid in your system. Watch and understand the protection we offer." One of the hegemony's smaller vessels moved toward the asteroid belt. It fired a beam of energy that shattered a medium-sized asteroid into dust. It was an impressive display, or would have been, if humanity hadn't developed far more efficient asteroid elimination systems centuries ago. "Remarkable," Santos gasped, adding a slight tremor to her voice. "I will convey this demonstration to Earth's leaders immediately." She paused, then added the crucial bait. "Though some are concerned about the costs of your protection." "Costs?" Zixtal's tone became smoother, more persuasive. "We merely require access to your solar system's resources, the outer planets and asteroids that your civilization cannot yet reach. A small price for our protection." In the hidden command center 50 levels below, the real Earth Defense Force headquarters, General Sarah Chen watched the exchange with grim satisfaction. The hegemony's true intentions were becoming clearer with every interaction. They didn't want to protect Earth. They wanted to exploit the solar system while keeping humanity contained and dependent. What they didn't know was that humanity had already established thriving colonies throughout the solar system, hidden beneath the surfaces of moons and asteroids. What they saw as primitive orbital stations were merely decoys, hiding vast underground cities and manufacturing centers. "We need those resources for ourselves," Santos protested weakly, playing her part. "Our scientists say we'll be capable of reaching Mars within a decade." Zixtal's light patterns shifted to what they recognized as condescending pity. Your primitive chemical rockets would take generations to establish any meaningful presence beyond your moon. Under our guidance, we could accelerate your development. In time, you might even achieve limited interplanetary travel. Santos noticed a subtle signal from her communications officer. Their quantum entanglement sensors had detected the hegemony attempting to scan Earth's defenses. The scans would find exactly what they expected: a handful of primitive satellites, some basic missile systems, and a few crude space stations. The quantum shielding that protected Earth's true defensive grid was undetectable to their technology. "We will need 3 more of your solar days to reach a decision," Santos said, allowing a note of resignation to enter her voice. "Our leaders wish to conduct a global referendum." 3 days, Zixtal agreed magnanimously. "Use this time wisely, humans. The galaxy is a dangerous place for unprotected worlds." The hologram flickered out. As soon as the transmission ended, Santos' demeanor changed completely. She stood straighter, her movements becoming crisp and efficient. "Status report," she commanded. "Their scans were exactly where we predicted," Lieutenant Wong reported. "They focused primarily on our visible defensive installations. No attempt to penetrate the quantum shield. And our fleet, still perfectly hidden in the solar winds. Admiral, the hegemony hasn't detected any of our ships." Santos nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. Humanity's true fleet, ships powered by zero-point energy and protected by quantum-entangled shields, remained invisible, scattered throughout the solar system. The hegemony saw what they expected to see: a primitive civilization barely able to reach their own moon. In 3 days, they would learn the truth. But by then, it would be too late. "Begin final preparations," Santos ordered. "I want all civilian populations moved to the deep shelters before the deadline. Signal the Jupiter and Saturn colonies to begin powering up their defense grids. And most importantly," she smiled grimly, "make sure our primitive visible defenses continue to look suitably vulnerable." As her orders were relayed throughout the solar system via quantum-entangled communications, Santos turned back to the holographic display. The hegemony's crystalline ships continued their patient orbit, unaware that they were being watched by dozens of Earth's advanced vessels hidden in plain sight. 3 days. In 3 days, the hegemony would learn why humanity had survived countless extinction events, why Earth had produced beings capable of bending the laws of physics themselves. In 3 days, they would learn the true meaning of human ingenuity. And Santos couldn't wait to see their reaction. The hidden arsenal. The 3 days passed like a tightly wound spring slowly releasing its tension. In the depths of Lunar Base Alpha's true command center, Admiral Santos watched the countdown timer tick away its final minutes. Around her, the command staff worked with practiced efficiency, their movements betraying none of the excitement she knew they all felt. "Status report on the quantum shield network," she commanded. General Chen's hands danced across his holographic interface. "All nodes synchronized. Admiral, the moment we drop the passive camouflage, Earth's entire defensive grid will activate simultaneously." The hegemony fleet had grown during their waiting period. What had started as hundreds of ships had swelled to thousands, their crystalline forms creating an artificial constellation visible even from Earth's surface. Their message was clear: accept protection or face consequences. "Incoming transmission from the hegemony flagship," Lieutenant Wong announced. "Right on schedule." Santos straightened her uniform. "One last performance," she said with a slight smile. "Put them through to the decoy command center." She took her position in the deliberately primitive-looking command room. The hologram of High Commander Zixtal materialized, his crystalline form pulsing with impatient colors. "Your time has expired, humans," he announced without preamble. "What is your decision?" Santos allowed herself to appear nervous, fidgeting with her collar. "High Commander, we require more time. Some nations are still debating." Debating. Zixtal's form flashed with harsh, angular patterns. Perhaps you fail to understand your situation. Allow me to clarify it. The hegemony fleet suddenly shifted formation. Hundreds of ships moved into attack positions, their weapons charging with visible energy. We detected your pitiful attempts to hide military installations on your moon. Zixtal continued. Did you think we wouldn't notice? Your species requires a demonstration of the consequences of defiance. A beam of devastating energy lanced out from one of the hegemony's larger ships, striking the visible surface of Lunar Base Alpha. The explosion was spectacular and completely harmless to the real base hidden kilometers below. Thousands of your people just died, Zixtal stated, his tone almost bored. Now shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? Santos dropped all pretense of fear, straightening to her full height. A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. Actually, High Commander, not a single human was harmed by your attack. But thank you for confirming our analysis of your weapons capabilities. Zixtal's form flickered with confusion. What? Computer, Santos commanded. End simulation protocol. Show them reality. The primitive command center dissolved around her, replaced by the gleaming advanced facility that had been there all along. Santos's simple uniform transformed into the sleek combat suit of Earth's Defense Force, complete with its quantum-enhanced neural interface. You see, Zixtal, we'd been watching your kind for centuries. We knew you were coming. We knew what you would do, and we prepared accordingly. The hegemony scan suddenly registered thousands of new contacts as Earth's quantum shields deactivated their stealth mode. Hidden bases across the moon's surface revealed themselves. Massive defense platforms emerged from dimensional pockets around Earth. And most importantly, humanity's true fleet decloaked. The hegemony ships reacted with predictable panic, their formation breaking as they tried to adjust to the new threats that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Their scans went wild as they detected energy signatures far beyond their own technological level. Impossible, Zixtal sputtered, his crystalline form pulsing with chaotic patterns. Your species, you were primitive. We saw. You saw what we wanted you to see, Santos corrected. A basic principle of human warfare. Let your enemy underestimate you. Now shall we discuss the terms of your withdrawal? Instead of responding, Zixtal cut the transmission. The hegemony fleet began charging weapons, their formation shifting into aggressive patterns. They're preparing to attack, General Chen reported calmly. Santos nodded. Right on schedule. Deploy the quantum interceptors. Let's show them why humanity hasn't needed anyone's protection for a very long time. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The hegemony's fleet, despite its impressive size, found itself hopelessly outmatched. Earth's ships, powered by zero-point energy and protected by quantum-entangled shields, seemed to ignore the laws of physics themselves. Hegemony energy beams splashed harmlessly against quantum shields. Their ship's crystal armor, previously thought impenetrable, shattered under the impact of weapons that attacked through multiple dimensions simultaneously. Earth's smaller vessels demonstrated maneuverability that the hegemony's tactical computers deemed impossible, effortlessly evading their targeting systems. Status of civilian populations, Santos inquired during a brief lull in the battle. All secure in the deep shelters, Chen confirmed. Though many are watching the battle through quantum-linked feeds, we're apparently trending on social media. Santos allowed herself a small chuckle. Some things about humanity never change, even after achieving technological supremacy. Their species' love for spectacle remained constant. The hegemony's formation had completely broken down. Their ships, accustomed to fighting technologically inferior opponents, had no effective tactics against an enemy that could apparently teleport, phase through solid matter, and ignore their strongest weapons. High Commander Zixtal is hailing us again, Wong reported. Put him through. The crystalline being's form appeared once more, but its proud bearing was gone. The patterns of light flowing through its form spoke of confusion and fear. How? Zixtal demanded. How did you hide all of this? "The same way we've hidden from dozens of other would-be conquerors," Santos replied. "By understanding that true power lies not in showing your strength, but in choosing when to reveal it." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Now about those terms I mentioned. The battle for Earth lasted less than 6 hours. The hegemony fleet, once thought invincible, retreated in disarray, leaving behind only debris and damaged ships that Earth's recovery vessels were already moving to salvage. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. As Santos watched the hegemony's retreat from her command center, she couldn't help but smile. They had achieved their objective with minimal loss of life on either side. Earth's existence as a technological superpower could no longer be hidden, but perhaps that was for the best. "Send word to the Council," she ordered. "It's time for Phase 2. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do when we don't have to hide anymore." The quantum communications network lit up with acknowledgments from bases throughout the solar system. Humanity's age of pretense was over. Their time of open advancement had begun. Counter-strike. 2 weeks after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Santos stood aboard humanity's new flagship, the EDF Prometheus, watching as final preparations for Operation Daybreak were completed. The massive vessel, previously hidden in a quantum pocket near Neptune, represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a perfect fusion of power and subtlety. "Latest intelligence from our deep space probes," General Chen reported, his hologram floating beside her on the bridge. "The hegemony's facing exactly the kind of political crisis we predicted. 3 major systems have already declared independence." Santos nodded, studying the tactical display. The hegemony's defeat at Earth had shattered their aura of invincibility. Centuries of suppressed rebellion were erupting across their territory, and their once mighty fleet was scattered trying to maintain control. And their leadership? Still in denial. Chen replied with a slight smile. "They're claiming our victory was a fluke, some kind of trick or hidden superweapon. They refuse to believe we've actually surpassed them technologically." "Perfect," Santos said. "That's exactly the mindset we need for Phase 2. She turned to her tactical officer. "Status of the strike fleet." Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel's fingers danced across his quantum-linked interface. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The new stealth systems are functioning at optimal efficiency. The hegemony won't see us coming until we're right on top of them." The strike fleet was humanity's masterpiece. 50 ships that combined every advancement Earth had carefully hidden for centuries. Each vessel carried weapons that could target enemies through multiple dimensions simultaneously, defensive systems that bent probability itself, and drives that laughed at the conventional laws of physics. "Signal all ships," Santos commanded. "Operation Daybreak commences in 30 minutes." As the countdown began, Santos reflected on the irony of their situation. For centuries, humanity had hidden their true capabilities, playing the role of primitive survivors on a backwater world. Now, they were about to demonstrate just how advanced they'd become. The fleet moved out in perfect formation, their quantum drives allowing them to traverse vast distances without entering normal space. To any conventional sensors, they simply didn't exist. The hegemony's early warning systems, spread across hundreds of light years, remained blind to their approach. Their target was the hegemony's primary shipyard in the Centauri sector, a massive complex where their crystalline vessels were grown rather than built. Intelligence suggested it was operating at maximum capacity, rushing to replace the ships lost at Earth. 5 minutes to target, Patil announced. "No indication they've detected us." Santos allowed herself a small smile. "Begin final approach. Remember, minimal casualties. We're here to demonstrate capability, not start a war of extinction." The fleet emerged from quantum space directly inside the shipyard's defensive perimeter. To the hegemony sensors, it must have seemed like human ships simply materialized from nothing, appearing simultaneously at dozens of strategically crucial points. For 3 precious seconds, nothing happened. The hegemony's defenders froze, their crystalline forms pulsing with patterns that their xenologists had learned to recognize as absolute shock. Then chaos erupted. Multiple enemy ships powering weapons, Paddle reported calmly. Their targeting systems are having difficulty locking onto our quantum-shifted hulls. Implement Phase 1 of the operation, Santos ordered. Surgical strikes only. The human fleet moved with impossible precision. Quantum-guided weapons struck with surgical accuracy, disabling rather than destroying. Construction bays were sealed off with localized time dilation fields. Command centers found their quantum communications cut off. Defense platforms discovered their weapon systems had been electronically subverted. Within minutes, the entire shipyard, pride of the hegemony fleet, was effectively neutralized without a single life lost on either side. "We're being hailed," Wong announced. "It's Supreme Admiral Kexti of the Hegemony Defense Force." Santos straightened her uniform. On screen, the crystalline form that appeared was larger and more elaborate than Zixtal's had been, its pattern speaking of barely controlled rage. "How dare you?" Kexti demanded. "This unprovoked attack." "Unprovoked," Santos interrupted. "Like your attempt to subjugate Earth was unprovoked. We're simply demonstrating why that was a mistake. Your primitive deceptions. Look around you, Supreme Admiral." Santos cut in again. "Does this look primitive to you? We've neutralized your largest shipyard without taking a single life. We could have destroyed it completely, but we chose not to. Consider this a diplomatic message." Kexti's form pulsed with chaotic patterns. "What message?" "That humanity is no longer hiding. We've watched your empire grow for centuries, watched you subjugate primitive species under the guise of protection. That ends now." As if to emphasize her point, several quantum gates opened around the shipyard. Through them, the hegemony forces could see other human fleets simultaneously attacking key military installations across their territory. Each strike was precise, efficient, and carefully calculated to disable rather than destroy. "Impossible," Kexti whispered. "No species could coordinate attacks across such distances. Quantum entanglement makes light-speed delays irrelevant," Santos explained. "We're operating as a single unified force across your entire empire. Right now, we're disrupting your military capability at 30 different locations simultaneously." The tactical display showed the success of their coordinated strike. Across hegemony space, their carefully hidden fleets were neutralizing military installations with surgical precision. The message was clear. Humanity could have destroyed them, but chose not to. "You have a choice," Santos continued. "Continue fighting and watch your empire crumble, or accept the new reality. Earth is not your subject or your protectorate. We are offering you the chance to become partners instead of rulers." Kexti's form had stopped pulsing entirely, a sign of deep shock in their species. "The Council, they will never accept." "They already are," Santos replied, sending data showing the growing rebellion across hegemony space. "Your choice is simple: adapt or collapse. We'll give you 48 hours to decide." As the transmission ended, Santos turned to her crew. "Status of other strike teams." "All reporting success, Admiral," Chen's hologram reported. "Minimal resistance, negligible casualties. The hegemony's military capability has been reduced by approximately 60%. Santos nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. The operation had achieved exactly what they'd hoped, demonstrating humanity's power while simultaneously showing their restraint. It was a delicate balance, but one that centuries of watching galactic politics had taught them was necessary. "Begin Phase 3 preparations," she ordered. "If the hegemony accepts our terms, we'll need to be ready for a major shift in galactic politics. If they refuse—" She paused, looking at the disabled shipyard. "Well, we've proven we can handle that outcome too." The Prometheus's quantum drive hummed to life, preparing to take them to their next target. Humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage couldn't have gone better if they'd planned it for centuries. Which, of course, they had. The quantum gambit. The hegemony's response came not in words but in actions. 3 days after Operation Daybreak, their remaining forces consolidated into a single massive fleet, the largest gathering of military might the galaxy had ever seen. Ships from every corner of their territory, dwarfing even their initial show of force at Earth, converged on the Sol system. From her command center on the Prometheus, now stationed near Jupiter's orbit, Admiral Santos watched the tactical displays with calm focus. "They're desperate," she observed, committing everything to a single battle. Latest count shows over 10,000 ships. General Chen reported, his hologram flickering with quantum static from the intense energy readings. They've stripped their entire empire of defensive forces for this. Santos nodded. The hegemony strategy was clear. They hoped to overwhelm Earth's advanced technology with sheer numbers. It wasn't a bad plan, except for one crucial detail. They were fighting exactly the battle humanity had spent centuries preparing for. "Status of Project Archimedes?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Patel brought up a new display showing Jupiter's largest moons, hidden quantum facilities on Ganymede, Europa, and Callisto pulsed with carefully controlled energy. "All arrays are charged and synchronized, Admiral. The quantum entanglement field is stable and ready for activation." The hegemony fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in a stunning display of coordination. Their crystalline ships filled space from horizon to horizon, their formation designed to prevent any possibility of escape. Energy readings indicated they had modified their weapons, attempting to counter Earth's quantum shields. "They're hailing us," Wong announced. Supreme Admiral Kexti's form appeared, somehow both more rigid and more fluid than before. "Your time hiding behind tricks and deceptions ends today," he declared. "Surrender now, and we will show mercy to your population." Santos raised an eyebrow. "Supreme Admiral, I'm curious. Did you actually analyze our previous encounters? Did you really think about what you were seeing?" "Your technological advantage was impressive but limited," Kexti replied. "No civilization could maintain the energy requirements for your supposed capabilities across an entire fleet. We've concluded your demonstrations were elaborate deceptions, powerful, but ultimately a bluff." "Interesting theory," Santos said. "Care to test it?" The hegemony fleet began their advance. Their formation was perfect, their strategy sound. Under normal circumstances, their overwhelming numbers would have guaranteed victory against any opponent. But this battle would not be fought under normal circumstances. "Activate Project Archimedes," Santos commanded. The quantum facilities on Jupiter's moons sprang to life. Energy patterns that defied conventional physics spread across space, creating a web of quantum-entangled fields. The hegemony fleet suddenly found itself operating in an environment where the fundamental laws of reality had become negotiable. "What is this?" Kexti demanded, his form flickering as the quantum fields affected even their communication systems. "What have you done?" "We've changed the rules," Santos replied simply. "You see, Supreme Admiral, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to think beyond conventional limitations. We don't just use quantum mechanics, we reshape it." The space around Jupiter had become humanity's playground. Ships that had trained for centuries in quantum-altered space moved with impossible grace, while the hegemony fleet struggled with physics that no longer behaved as expected. "All ships, execute quantum gambit protocols," Santos ordered. "Show them why humanity hasn't needed protection for a very long time." The battle that followed defied description in conventional terms. Human ships phase-shifted through enemy vessels, their quantum weapons striking from multiple dimensions simultaneously. The hegemony's energy beams curved in impossible ways, missing targets that quantum probability had simply moved elsewhere. "Their formation is breaking," Paddle reported. "The quantum field is causing cascading failures in their crystalline structures." Santos nodded. "Implement Phase 2. Target their command and control systems only." Earth's ships moved in perfect coordination, their actions synchronized through quantum entanglement. The hegemony's massive fleet, for all its impressive numbers, found itself fighting an enemy that seemed to ignore the very laws of physics they relied upon. "Admiral," Chen's hologram interrupted, "we're detecting unusual energy readings from their flagship. They're attempting something." Before he could finish, Kexti's vessel unleashed a weapon they hadn't encountered before. A massive pulse that seemed to stabilize local space-time, temporarily neutralizing the quantum field effects. "Clever," Santos admitted. "They've been holding back their own advances. Adjust quantum field harmonics. Let's show them our backup plans." The human fleet smoothly transitioned to new tactics. Ships that had seemed vulnerable under normal physics suddenly revealed additional layers of technology. The battle shifted again, becoming a clash between two genuinely advanced civilizations. "You've hidden your own developments," Santos transmitted to Kexti. "Just as we hid ours. Perhaps we're not so different after all." The crystalline admiral's form pulsed with complex patterns. "We underestimated you." Repeatedly. "But this battle isn't over." "No," Santos agreed, "but its outcome was determined before it began. Look at your tactical displays, Supreme Admiral. Really look." The quantum field had been more than just a way to alter local physics. While the hegemony fleet focused on the battle, humanity's true strategy had unfolded around them. Quantum entanglement had allowed Earth's ships to create a complex network of interconnected fields, gradually enclosing the entire hegemony fleet in a massive quantum bubble. "You cannot hold this many ships," Kexti protested, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. "We don't need to," Santos replied. "We just need you to understand what it means. Right now, your entire fleet exists in a space where we control the fundamental laws of physics. We could end this battle in countless ways. Instead, we're offering you one last chance to talk." The display showed the truth of her words. The hegemony fleet, despite its overwhelming numbers, was completely contained within humanity's quantum field. Their most powerful weapons couldn't breach it. Their most advanced technology couldn't counter it. "Why?" Kexti asked finally. "Why show such restraint when you clearly have the power to destroy us?" Santos smiled. "Because true strength isn't about destruction, Supreme Admiral. It's about knowing when not to use your power. Humanity learned that lesson long ago, through countless wars and near extinctions. We're offering you the chance to learn it without paying the same price we did." Victory and consequences. 1 month after the Battle of Jupiter, Admiral Elena Santos stood before the newly formed Galactic Conclave. The massive chamber, constructed in neutral space between Earth and the former hegemony's core worlds, housed representatives from hundreds of civilizations. Some had been former subjects of the hegemony. Others were independent powers drawn by the unprecedented events of the past months. The chamber itself was a testament to humanity's quantum engineering, a space where thousands of different atmospheric requirements were simultaneously met through localized reality manipulation. Species that breathed methane could sit comfortably next to oxygen breathers, while gravity shifted seamlessly to accommodate different physiological needs. "The age of empire is over," Santos declared, her voice carrying clearly through quantum-translated frequencies. "The galaxy stands at a crossroads, and Earth proposes a new path forward." Supreme Admiral Kexti, now serving as the reformed hegemony's representative, sat in the front row. His crystalline form had adopted more flowing patterns since the battle, a sign of significant cultural change among his people. "Humanity hid its true nature for centuries," Santos continued. "Not out of fear, but because we recognized a fundamental truth. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. We watched as empire after empire rose and fell, each believing their technological superiority gave them the right to rule." She gestured to the quantum displays, showing the galaxy's major powers. But technology alone is not the measure of advancement. True civilization requires understanding, cooperation, and most importantly, the wisdom to know when not to use power. The assembled representatives stirred. Many had witnessed humanity's capabilities firsthand during the swift dismantling of the hegemony's military might. The fact that Earth had shown such restraint, had chosen precision, and minimal casualties over destruction had forced many to reevaluate their assumptions about power and civilization. "We propose the formation of a new galactic order," Santos announced, "not based on military might or technological superiority, but on mutual respect and cooperation. Earth will share its quantum technology gradually, as species demonstrate their readiness to use it responsibly." General Chen's hologram appeared beside her, displaying data from the past month. The statistics were striking. Former hegemony worlds were already showing unprecedented economic growth under the new system. Freed from imperial control, but supported by human technology and expertise, they were flourishing. "Some have asked why we don't simply take control ourselves," Santos acknowledged. "We certainly have the capability, but humanity's long history has taught us that true stability cannot be imposed from above. It must grow naturally, through understanding and mutual benefit." Kexti rose, his crystalline form catching the light. "A month ago, I would have called such words naive. But we have seen the truth of them. The hegemony thought we were protecting the galaxy by controlling it. Earth has shown us a better way." The chamber erupted in discussion, thousands of species debating the proposal. But the outcome was never really in doubt. They had all seen the alternative, had witnessed what humanity could do if pushed to conflict. The fact that Earth chose cooperation over dominance, despite possessing overwhelming power, spoke volumes. "The transition will not be easy," Santos cautioned as the voting began. "Centuries of imperial rule have left deep scars. But Earth stands ready to help all species who wish to join this new era." The vote was nearly unanimous. The Galactic Conclave would replace the old system of imperial control. Power would be shared, technology gradually distributed based on demonstrated responsibility. It was a new approach to galactic civilization, one that recognized the importance of wisdom over mere capability. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent rapid transformation. Earth's quantum technology, carefully shared with responsible powers, revolutionized everything from commerce to environmental restoration. Former enemy species found common ground in scientific cooperation, while Earth's diplomatic course helped mediate centuries-old conflicts. Admiral Santos stood in the observation deck of the Prometheus, watching construction begin on the Conclave's permanent headquarters, a massive station that would serve as neutral ground for all species. "Quite a view," General Chen said, his hologram materializing beside her. "Hard to believe this all started with us pretending to be primitive." Santos smiled. "Sometimes the best way to teach is by example. The galaxy needed to learn that true power isn't about dominance. It's about choice, about having the capability to destroy, but choosing to create instead." "And the future?" Chen asked. "The future," Santos replied, "watching ships from 100 worlds working together on the construction, is going to be very interesting indeed." Below them, Earth gleamed like a jewel in space, its quantum shields now visible as a subtle iridescence in the atmosphere. But they were no longer shields meant to hide. They were beacons, showing the way toward a new kind of civilization, one where technology served wisdom rather than the other way around. The old saying went that humanity had reached for the stars. The truth was more complex. They had reached the stars long ago, but had waited, watched, and learned. Now, finally, they were ready not just to reach the stars, but to help guide them toward a brighter future. The age of empires was over. The age of understanding had begun, and humanity, after centuries of patient preparation, was ready to lead the way, not through force, but through wisdom. As the Prometheus prepared to return to Earth, Santos took one last look at the assembled fleet of alien ships, all working together on the Conclave station. The sight filled her with hope. They had achieved something unprecedented. Victory without destruction, change without chaos, power tempered by wisdom. The galaxy would never be the same, and that, she reflected, was exactly what they had been working toward all along.